The member for London West.
Thank you very much, Speaker. It's always an honor to rise in this House to speak on behalf of the people that we represent in our various ridings. But it's a pleasure to participate in a debate on a legislative initiative that has such broad support from all members of the House and really meaningful support, authentic support, because I think that all of us have Hispanic constituents and all of us recognize the importance of celebrating the contributions and the accomplishments of the Hispanic community to Ontario's success. So I want to commend the efforts of the member from Davenport in bringing this bill forward and the consultation that she has conducted on the bill and the input that she's gotten and the support that she has generated around declaring October Hispanic Heritage Month. This is a proud moment for me as member of London West, because I do have a large number of my constituents are Hispanic, in particular from Colombia. Certainly, as a nation, Canada is really built on the value of not just acknowledging but celebrating our rich cultural diversity, the heritage, the traditions, the values that newcomers, immigrants brought to this country and made us Canadians. So the bill before us today recognizes the contributions in particular of Hispanic Canadians to our social, economic, political and cultural fabric, and speaks to those core fundamental values that really define us as Canadians. So as stated in the preamble to the bill, Ontario is home to more than 400,000 first, second and third generation Canadians of Hispanic origin. And we know that as early as 1914, Canadians who originated from the 23 Hispanic countries began the wave of immigration to this province, and today the Hispanic community is one of the fastest growing immigrant populations in Ontario. Hispanic origin means a resident or an immigrant from any Spanish-speaking country, so that it can encompass a broad range of cultural and ethnic backgrounds. So these countries include Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Equatorial Guinea, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Puerto Rico, Uruguay, and of course Spain. And so when you look at all of those diverse countries, you see the kind of richness of the Hispanic cultural heritage that Ontario benefits from when Hispanic Canadians come to our province. And in fact, some broader definitions of Hispanic would also include former colonies that are Spanish-speaking but not ethnically Spanish, such as the Philippines, which again even makes that diversity richer and broader. So as I mentioned, my community of London and actually London West specifically is home to many Hispanic immigrants, and that makes the profile of immigration in London is quite unique compared to the rest of the province. So in Ontario overall, Latin American immigrants make up about 5% of all newcomers. But in London, 17% of our immigrants are from Latin America. And also, as I mentioned earlier, they are from Colombia in particular. For more than a decade, London has been the go-to spot for many Colombian refugee claimants. And in fact, this has earned the City of London a nickname of Londumbia. Because of the number of Colombian immigrants or Colombian refugees who have settled in our city. And this gives Londoners access to experience the richness, the wonderful food, music, art, culture in our community. And you can frequently hear Spanish being spoken on the streets of our city. So the current influx of Colombians to London began in the late 1990s. In 1997, there were just 16 Colombians who came to our community. The following year, 1998, there were 43 Colombians who came. And the following year, there were 126. So as Colombians came, they felt welcomed in our community, and the word spread back home, and we saw more and more Colombians coming to London. In 2000, there were 395, and the numbers have continued to grow, and more recently, we have also seen refugees from El Salvador and Guatemala who have begun to join Colombians in seeking refugee status and settling in our city. So Colombia remains number 3, actually, on Canada's list of the top 10 source countries for refugees to London. Today, there are, the numbers vary, but there are approximately 15,000 Colombians who are currently living in the city. And as I mentioned, their presence has helped to diversify the local economy. We've seen many Spanish businesses, grocery stores, Latin American-style restaurants, a Spanish church being established all across the city. Among all of the immigrants who currently live in London, Colombians make up the 3rd largest immigrant community. And again, this is quite different from the profile of immigrants both in Ontario and in Canada. Colombia does not even appear among the top 10 countries of origin for immigrant communities when you look at the census data from Ontario and Canada. The other notable aspect of Colombian immigrants is that they are overwhelmingly the largest proportion or largest number of recent newcomers to the city. London welcomed about 2,000 Colombians in total between 2006 and 2011, which was almost 3 times as much as the next largest number of immigrants, which was from the Chinese community to our city. And not only is Spanish the most common non-official language spoken in London, but it has also overtaken French as the 2nd most frequent mother tongue after English. So you can see that our city has really changed because of the influx of Hispanic immigrants. We see this in our schools, and we see this in our workplaces. We see this in the businesses that are being established and launched across our community, and in the services that are being developed to meet the needs of the growing Hispanic community in London. We had our first Spanish language phone book created in 2007, and this was obviously needed because of our exploding Latin community. I just want to take a moment to recognize some of the individuals who have contributed so much to London's prosperity and cultural landscape through the Hispanic traditions that they have shared with our community. So I want to recognize George Perez, from Mexico. He is publisher of La Jornada, which is London's bilingual Spanish newspaper. It has a circulation of more than 35,000 across the area, and it provides content that is tailored to the cultural needs of Hispanic. Some articles are in Spanish, some are in English, and there is a page that provides content that is translated in both languages. Jose Rey is publisher of Latino, a second Spanish media, and he has been creating and distributing Spanish language media through this bi-monthly newspaper, Latino, and he has also created Latino TV. It's a weekly television program on Rogers Cable. And he has, in addition, he has established an annual recognition evening to salute Spanish-speaking people in our community across 10 categories, because the achievements of the Hispanic community in London are significant and also broad. So he recognizes achievement in business and sports, in community work, and arts and culture. I also want to recognize Felipe Gomez, who's the owner of Aroma Restaurant, which was established in 2001 in London and has been delighting Londoners and tourists to our city for many years with their Mediterranean specialty dishes. And finally, there is the incomparable Alfreda Kaja, who is the founder and artistic director of Sunfest, the second largest music festival in Canada and a showcase of the world's best musicians. Last year, Alfredo was named one of the 10 most influential Hispanic Canadians by the Canadian Hispanic Business Alliance. So Sunfest has been around in London since 1995, and it has grown to become one of London's largest attractions. It has become deeply embedded in London's cultural and civic identity and enjoys ongoing support from a range of corporate and government sponsors. And it is a world music festival, but Alfredo, who comes from Guatemala, has always made an effort to ensure that there is good representation from Hispanic musicians and performers. And you know, with this wave of immigration, there is also clearly a strong economic impact from the growing Spanish-speaking demographic in our community. And in 2009, the London Chamber of Commerce launched the first of its kind Hispanic Business Opportunities Task Force to help grow London's economy by determining how best to meet the needs of the Hispanic business community. The purpose of the task force is to identify the tools and skills needed by Hispanic business owners to make a positive, sustainable contribution to the local economy and assist in learning how to integrate Hispanic businesses with the larger business population in London. And more recently, the task force has turned its focus to developing new business relationships in Latin America. And you know, as the member for Davenport mentioned, the Hispanic community is highly educated. They bring incredible professional qualifications and skills that can certainly be leveraged to support our economic well-being, both in London and in the province. And before I move to the bill, Speaker, I also did want to acknowledge the contributions of Hispanic Canadians to labor, to the labor movement, and standing up for workers' rights. Many Hispanic Canadians arrived in Canada after fleeing countries like Mexico or in South America, where they were arrested or tortured for exercising their rights to unionize. The Hispanic community has also made a tremendous contribution in my riding through organizations such as La Casa, which stands for the Latin American Canadian Solidarity Association, which works specifically on issues of social justice, and they have done a lot of work in solidarity with Indigenous people to raise awareness of the challenges facing, the threats facing Indigenous people worldwide and in Canada. They have organized for peace, and they have spoken out strongly on poverty and climate justice. So, Bill 28, and as I said, our caucus is very much in support of this legislation. Bill 28 designates October as Hispanic Heritage Month because of the significance of the month for the Hispanic community worldwide. We know, everyone knows from our days in elementary school that Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas on October 12, 1492. So October has significance from that historical fact alone. But as shown by the bill's references to Indigenous resistance and cultural diversity, a number of holidays have been established that celebrate the arrival of Columbus to the Americas, but also offer an opportunity to reflect on the devastating impact of this arrival on the Indigenous people who were already here in this country. But in in appreciation to many of the Hispanic communities who have organized events in October, they have shifted from focusing on the celebration of conquest to celebrating cultural diversity. And so what we see each year around the world during the month of October, we see a number of significant celebrations, such as Hispanic Day, the Day of the Cultures, Day of the Race, Day of Respect for Cultural Diversity, Day of Indigenous Resistance, and the commemoration of Hispanic Heritage Month in North America. So, in closing, Speaker, I want to say that we're very appreciative of the efforts of the member for Davenport to bring this bill forward. We are appreciative of the opportunity to speak in support of the bill on behalf of people in our ridings who are of Hispanic ethnocultural heritage, but also in recognition of the number of Hispanics across this province and the contributions that they have made to our province and to enriching Ontario's cultural environment. This bill is important, and I really like the part of the bill that talks about not just celebrating Hispanic culture, but also allowing us and future generations of Ontarians to learn more about Hispanic history, Hispanic culture, the accomplishments and contributions of Hispanic Canadians to Ontario's economic and social well-being. So October's Hispanic Heritage Month, which I hope we could be celebrating as early as October 2015. I am sure it will be a wonderful, fantastic opportunity to recognize the achievements of the Hispanic population that one hopes will just continue to grow and to enrich Ontario and make us as a community stronger. Thank you very much, Speaker.